Beijing and the United States increasingly view all of their international relations through the U.S.-China lens. So they won't be surprised at all by Vice President Harris's comments. And in fact, if we look at comments that have been coming from Beijing over the last couple of weeks, and even since President Biden became president of the United States, there has been hot rhetoric across the Pacific. I think the important point is that both Beijing and Washington need to find a way forward to relieve some of the tensions across the Pacific, and that is exactly what countries in Southeast Asia and all of the Indo-Pacific want.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how does the United States do that? Because Singapore would be reluctant to pick sides over China and the United States. And does this trip really, I guess, cement that pivot back to Asia that we saw under the Obama administration?
Well, it's true that the pivot to Asia was the signature foreign policy initiative of the Obama administration. So it should be no surprise that Joe Biden's administration, President Obama's former vice president, would pick up where he left off. But you make an excellent point, and that is it would be a foreign policy mistake for the United States to force a choice in the region. Its allies, friends, and partners need to find a way to coexist with the powerful, growing Chinese economy and military strength, and the United States, which has historically underwritten security in the region. What they need to do is welcome the United States to continue to be the guarantor of security, but find ways to use diplomacy to bring the two sides together. But to be sure, it's going to take courageous leadership in both Washington and Beijing to take the pressure out of the U.S.-China tension.
Does the current administration have the ticket to be able to do that?
Well, sure. Look, Washington changed earlier this year with the inauguration of a new president. Both sides are going to have to do their part. Look, no one should be naive. There is an ongoing strategic competition, but this is very different from the Cold War. This is a competition between two powerful countries operating within the same international system, as opposed to what we had during the Cold War years, which was really two systems competing against each other. We have, in many ways, an ideal climate for a diplomatic breakthrough, ultimately, if the parties are willing to do the work. Because the United States has a stake in China's success, especially economically, and China has a stake in American economic success. As Vice President Harris said today in Singapore, the economies of the United States and China are very much dependent upon each other. But there's not going to be any dramatic breakthrough. It's going to happen incrementally, beginning with confidence-building measures and slowly easing some of the trade war that developed during the Trump administration and returning to, I think, a more normal relationship between Beijing and Washington and calming the waters across the Pacific. It's going to take some time.